Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. A week ago I posted this one on my Instagram stories asking people to fill in this blank where I said a book that has, and many people left your questions in these, and most of the questions were so very specific and I did not get a lot of the responses, but all the responses that I got were like so different and unique also. I'll be replying to all those questions in this video and I'm planning to do similar videos like this one in the future also. So if you want to participate and play along with me, you can follow me on Instagram. My handle will be somewhere on the screen and also I've linked the account down in the description. So without any further ado, let's get into the video right away. First we have a book with classic dragons or just a book with dragons but serious ones. And for this I have two books. Okay, the first one is Aragon by Christopher Paolini. This is a quartet. I read the first book only, but this itself was very interesting and very classical in tone. I want to continue on with the series. I have all the 4 books in the series, but all of them are so huge and hefty. That's the only reason I've not continued on with the series yet. But if you are looking for the mythology of dragons and the connection of dragons with human beings, you can definitely go forward to read this because it has some details put into it. The next book I want to recommend is Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin. This is the prequel to the Game of Thrones series or A Song of Ice and Fire series, in which the Targaryens are alone concentrated a lot more. I have not read the entire book, I've just read like 10% of the book, but in that 10% itself, I can surely say that this is a book which is about dragons in a serious sense and not the whimsical and puppy dog like dragons which we see in most fantasy. So if you're looking forward to read some seriously intense dragon stuff, you can definitely go for this. It is also adult, so it will be intimidating and there will be a lot of description because of George R.R. Martin itself, but it's definitely worth the read for dragons. Next we have a book that you gifted to someone special, and this is a thriller book and it is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I bought this hardcover while I was in my training for work, and during that training period I got a lot of new friends across the country, and there's this one person whom I got as a friend on the very first day itself while we joined, and the energy that that person gave out was really positive, and from that day on until the last day we had training for 5 months, which was so extensive and so intense all the time. But while the time we were together, it was very positive and very happy always, and that person was also a very lucky person. So when I gave the paperback copy of this book, which I actually read from for the first time, I wrote them a note in that one saying that they were the luckiest friend that I've got so far and gave to them. That person was so happy, and definitely I'm sure they would have read that book also. So this is the one. Next we have a book that is set in Japan, and for this I picked up a book from my August TBR itself, and it is Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. I read like 3 or 4 Murakami books before this one, but only one physically, and all of them were very short books, and the open-endedness of those endings is something which I liked a lot. Okay, all his books have a very weird good tone to them, and I just enjoyed that quality of all his books a lot. And in this one I'm expecting so much because I've heard that this is one of his most famous books and also one of his best works. It is a bit huge, but I think I can easily read this one, and I'm very much expecting to get a lot from this because I've heard many people only rave about this one, all the positive things alone. I've not read it, but this is definitely a book that is set in Japan and I'm going to read it in August. Yeah, this is the book for that. Next, a book that made you cry, and for this one I'm choosing a very huge mammoth, and it is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. I finished this in June, and you can definitely go and check out my review if you're interested. This is definitely the book which made me cry the most. Usually I'm not a person who cries that easily for anything at all, even while reading. Okay, but in the past 1 year, spending more time alone with myself, I've understood more that it is better to feel the things then and there. So definitely this is a book which made me cry during multiple instances. It's not like wailing. Okay, I don't like sit down and let tears stream down my face. It's definitely not like that, but the eyes start watering. Okay, you will not be able to see through the blurred vision that you have because of the tears. It was such kind of a crying for me when I read this book, and I'm so glad that it did that to me because it just made me realize how much invested I was with this story and with these characters, and it was definitely a wonderful ride. The next question, this is from my brother, and it is a Tamil book, and I have only a very few number of Tamil books in my shelf, and of those the best one is definitely this one, which is the bind up of Ponniyin Selvan, all the 5 volumes put together. This one was actually bought by him for me in the beginning of this year. I think it was in March or April, I don't remember. My brother went to the Chennai book fair, which was a bit little this year due to the pandemic, and he bought this for me. It is not illustrated, it's just a bind up of all the 5 books, but it is definitely super good in quality, and I think you can find it in Amazon also. So if you're interested, try it out, and I definitely want to read all these 5 books before the movie comes out. I think the movie is also going to be in parts. I've read only the first 2 books, but I definitely want to continue on with the series. I don't remember a lot of the things perfectly from my first read, so I definitely want to reread the first 2 books and complete the series as a whole. So definitely this is one thing which is on my TBR, and also the most beautiful Tamil book that I have on my shelf. Next, a book that has a crown on its cover, and for this one also I found a really good book, and it is A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. this is the second book in the Song of Ice and Fire series or Game of Thrones series, but this is definitely not my most favorite of all the books. I can say that this is my least favorite, and also in the edition that I own, the third and fifth book are split, okay, because they are so huge in size, and if they are just made like this sized paperbacks, the spine will easily crack and we'll not be able to read it also. This one's nearly, I think, over 900 pages long, and definitely it was worth the read, okay. I can say that this is the least interesting of all the 5 books put together, but definitely a really good book in multiple levels. So if you are a person who likes adult epic fantasy, you should definitely try this series because it is just so awesome. The next one is the only question which I could not find a book to, and it is a book that has an hourglass in it, okay. I'm not sure if the person means a hourglass on the cover or inside the book itself, but as far as I could think, I could not find a book from my shelves that had an hourglass in any of it, either within the story or on the cover. So this is the only question which I could not find a book for. Next, we have a book that has a clock in it. In this one also, the person did not specify whether it should be on the cover or inside the book itself. So I'm going with the cover for this question, and it is The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson. This is the third book in the Truly Devious series. I have not read this book so far by the time I'm filming this video, but by the end of July I would have finished this one, and you can find it in my July wrap-up. But I can say one thing about the series. The first book was like super good. The second book was good, but it was not as good as the first book, and I'm expecting a lot from this one, okay. This has to live for the hype that the first and second books created, and I'm not sure what's going to happen in here, but I'm very, very much interested. And it also has a clock on its cover, you can just see, right? So yeah, this is the book for it. Next, we have a book that is on strong friendship, no romance. And for this one, I'm going to recommend an audiobook. Okay, I know I don't have it on my shelf, but I definitely want to recommend this book to you guys. And I finished this in July. I'm saying again July because I'm filming this in July, but you'll be seeing it in August. And it is Theft of Spots by Michael J. Sullivan. Okay, this is an epic fantasy series first book, and I should say I just enjoyed it the whole time, okay. It is a very cozy epic fantasy that is not at all intimidating. So if you're searching for some good book to begin reading adults epic fantasy, you can definitely try this one out. It's not gory, okay, it doesn't go to grimdark territory at all. The character development is good, and the best part about this book is the friendship between these two main characters, Royce and Hadrian. Both of them are like top class thieves, and the banter that they have and the understanding that they have for each other, it is almost like Sherlock and Watson. But I was just able to see that friendship really clearly in this one. The author has built that pristinely, and if you're just looking for a book that is totally focused on friendship between two characters and not romance, you can definitely read this one. I'm sure you will enjoy it. I'm not sure about the continuation of the series, but in the first book, the friendship was just top class. This next question is my most favorite of the lot, and it is a book in which the protagonist dies in a car accident, okay? I just like that dark mind of yours which wanted me to recommend you a book that is so extremely dark. But I'm so sorry, okay, I could not find a book in which the protagonist actually dies in a car accident, but I was able to find a book in which the protagonist has been in a car accident but did not die. It caused like a huge trauma to them, and because of that they have PTSD right now. And the book that I'm talking about is totally a very chill, light, happy, cozy read, and it is Girl Online by Zoe Sugg. I remember recommending this book a number of times when I started doing booktube videos, and I can definitely say this is a book which you can just totally enjoy the whole time you're reading it. And it also has the main character who has a blog, so we'll be getting some blog posts from the main character also spread out throughout the book. I know this is not a book recommendation or a book that is dark for this type of a question, but I'm sure if you read this you'll enjoy it, and it's also a very quick read. You can just finish it in like 1 or 2 sittings, and it'll be a very joyful ride to go through. The next question is a book that broke you into a million pieces. So basically all of you guys wanted me to wail and feel sad while filming this video, but it is definitely not happening, okay? I'm just so super happy that I'm able to just go back and visit all these books again in my life. And the book that I'm going to talk about for this question is Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Rees Brennan, Maureen Johnson, and Robin Wasserman, okay? By far, this is the best short story collection that I've ever read in my life, and it is a sequel to The Mortal Instruments. So without finishing the Mortal Instruments series, you cannot read this one. If you read it, it'll just spoil the entire series for you, so please don't. I can't even say who's the main character that is focused in this book, but I can say that he is one of my most favorite characters. He has this t-shirt on the book's cover which says Made in Brooklyn. Okay, make out of that what you will, who this person is. But the reason behind why this book broke me into a million pieces was seeing Isabel Lightwood. I've told many times that Isabel Lightwood is one of the strongest characters that I've seen so far, okay? Not strong female character. I'm not putting a gender bias there. I'm just saying that she's one of the best and most bold characters that I've seen ever so far. But this is the book in which she goes into this extreme emotional turbulence. Seeing her go through it just made me crumble during multiple instances, and definitely due to this reason, this is a book which broke me into a million pieces, and I read it as the last book of 2020. Next, we have a book that has a happy story but a sad ending. And for this one, I've chosen A Man Called Uva by Frederick Bachman. Okay, this is definitely a book which is very happy and very cozy to read during any time of the year. But the ending of this book is objectively sad, but subjectively it can mean different things to different people. For me, it was the appropriate, perfect ending for the book, and it was just so beautiful. Okay, it just wrapped things up properly and perfectly. It was like putting a bow on top of a present. It was that beautiful. Okay, again, objectively it's a sad ending, but subjectively it was an appropriate ending for me as a reader. The next question is from Maya from Bookshot, and it is a book that reminded you of another story, and it is Wild Lake by Laura Lippman. Okay, this is one of my books from the July TBR, and I read it during the first few days of the month, but it was definitely a disappointing read for me. Okay, it reminded a lot of things about Dark Places by Gillian Flynn for me, because that is one of the most impactful books that I read in 2020, and this had a very similar plot to it, but the author just wasted a lot of time just describing the appearance and the clothes that the characters had rather than developing the plot as a whole. She did drop some things here and there, but definitely it was not worth the ending and all the time that I spent reading this huge book. I'd not recommend anyone to read this, but this was a book which just reminded me of Dark Places a lot because of the central theme, but it is very unlike Dark Places, at the same time similar to it. Next, we have a book that has morally grey characters, excluding Snape and Cas. And for this, I have an entire series which I finished last month or the month before, I don't remember properly. And it is Nevernight by J. Christoph. Okay, this entire trilogy has all those characters who are totally morally grey. Okay, there is not even a single character who's completely good or completely bad at all. All the main characters, you will see some flaws in them, but they'll have extremely good qualities as well. Especially this last book, Dark Dawn, which is the conclusion for the series, showed the amount of moral greyness that all the main characters had, and the ending was super good. Okay, I just love the way in which the author used all these characters and all their tendencies to make them ruthless as well as kind and loving during multiple instances. It is an extremely grimdark adult fantasy series, but the character work in this one just stands out so good that all the characters are extremely morally grey, and you'll not be able to determine whether you like them or not, because during instances you'll just want to love them, and during other instances you'll just want to run away from them. It's that good, and the amount of moral greyness for each and every character is just over the scale of 100 if you ask me. Next one is a book that made you want to fall in love, and for this one I have one of my all-time favorite books. Okay, I read it in November 2020 and it was my most favorite book of 2020, and it is Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. Okay, this is the final book in the Infernal Devices series. I've talked about this many times, and I will keep talking about it many times in the future also. This epilogue is something which just means a lot to me. While watching WandaVision, there's this particular quote that Vision says, and it is, "What is grief if not love persevering?" Okay, this epilogue is something which just makes that much sense to that quote in some way for me. I'll not tell you guys what happens in the epilogue because it will definitely ruin this series for you. You have to read and experience it and see the complete satisfaction that you get while you read that epilogue, because I just got it, and this is definitely one book which made me want to fall in love because those two characters in that epilogue, they were just perfect. There's also this third character whom they are grieving. That's why I said that grief quote also from WandaVision. Yeah, it was just so beautiful, and if you've been following me, you know how much I love this, and it's definitely a book which made me want to fall in love. Last and final question, a book that takes you into another world. For this one, I'm choosing a high fantasy book. I'm not sure whether this is young adult or adult because I've seen this categorized in both the categories, but I think it can be read by anyone because it doesn't have anything that is specific to adult books like triggering content, but it has a lot of world building, and I think that's one of the major pillars and things which makes me love this book a lot, and it is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Now, this is the first book in the Strange the Dreamer duology, so there's the second book which is Muse of Nightmares, which I've not read yet. It's been almost a year since I read this one, but I can vividly remember all the things that the author described. Okay, she goes on pages and pages describing things in order to build this world, but if you like beautiful prose, I'm sure you will definitely love this. I want to read the second book because the characters in this one, the world, everything was just so beautiful. The plot in itself was not that great a thing, but the darkness of the characters and the depth and intricacies which is given to each and every single character, the protagonists as well as the antagonists, was super awesome, and There's an insane twist which happens during the climax of the book 1, which is definitely setting up the second book to very high stakes. I want to read it, I want to enjoy it. Let's just wait and see. But this is definitely a book which will transport you to a different world, because the world building in this one is so extreme and it will just feel like the world is real. You can just see it through the words in your eyes. So yes guys, that's it for this video, and if you did enjoy watching it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. If you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel because I publish new videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.